Hello. Today I am going to embark on something that I've thought about doing for a good while now. And that is something called the Pink Floyd Completion Project. Now, what do I mean by the Pink Floyd Completion Project? This is going to be a journey over the next while where I not only listen to every single Pink Floyd album, but review every single Pink Floyd album, and I listen to and review every single solo album produced by the members of Pink Floyd. Now, we got to set down some guidelines for what qualifies as a member of Pink Floyd, because there are members who have toured with Pink Floyd, there are members who have played on Pink Floyd albums but aren't officially members. So what qualifies as a member of Pink Floyd? Basically anybody who appeared on more than one studio album with an asterisk. It's essentially everybody involved with Pink Floyd from 1967 to 1979. So the 5 members that I would be focusing on would be David Gilmour, Roger Waters, Nick Mason, Rick Wright, and Syd Barrett. Syd Barrett went nuts because he dropped a shitload of acid and essentially overdosed. So he wasn't in the band for very long. Now people like Guy Pratt and like the touring musicians from the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour and the Division Bell tour, they do not qualify as members because their careers essentially are entwined with Pink Floyd. Somebody like Snowy White, who's played on 2 Pink Floyd tours and many a Roger Waters solo tour, that does not count. Because he wasn't on a studio album. Guy Pratt is on 2 studio albums, but it's not really to a degree where I could consider him a member, and he doesn't have that substantial of a career afterwards. But tacking on to this video, we are going to explain the early history of Pink Floyd. In 65, in and around 1965, 1966, 4 dudes in architecture school were, those 4 dudes were Syd Barrett, Roger Waters, Richard Wright, and Nick Mason. And they got together and they formed this band called Pink Floyd. And eventually they got themselves a residency at the UFO Club, or the UFO Club. And they would play there nightly, and eventually they struck themselves a deal with Columbia Records. They cut a single, Arnold Lane, a song about a man who goes around stealing women's clothes and gets locked up for it. It's actually, like, if you read the lyrics and pay attention to them and are in tune with late 60s British humor, it's actually a very amusing song. And then they cut another single a couple months later, See Emily Play. And then they went on to record The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And during Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Syd Barrett was beginning to experiment with this drug called LSD, otherwise known as acid. So, that concludes the introduction to the Pink Floyd Completion Project. I will see you at some point when I review their debut album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn.